Welcome to the Exit Strategy. We have real conversations to transform your mindset, money, and more. And now, the Exit Strategist. Hey, ladies, how's it going? How's everybody doing today?
Fabulous. Hey.
Hey.
Fantastic, Money Love.
All right now. So it's time for another show. Let's get it going. Let's get it. Let's go.
Right.
All right, let's spin the wheel. Here we go.
So what are we talking about today? Let's see where the wheel will stop.
How does someone identify and change their relationship with money? Okay, that's a new topic, and it came up right away. So that's awesome.
Isn't that something?
Mm-hmm. All right. So who's leading us off on this one?
Identity. That kind of made me say, what do you mean by identity? So can we clarify the question?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. Monica, what were you thinking when this question came?
So how do you identify, like, sometimes we don't even know that there is a such thing as having a relationship with money, and then to even identify the fact or to recognize or acknowledge the fact that there is a relationship with money. How do you figure out the fact that there is a relationship with money in addition to having that relationship?
The first thing that comes to my mind is a financial crisis. When you don't have something you need, when a bill needs to be paid and you don't have it, but some type of financial crisis typically is what forces one person to look at their financial situation. Because as long as you have it and you can spend it,
you're not,
you know?
Mm-hmm.
I'll say a financial crisis to answer your question.
Okay.
And then, for someone who doesn't yet go through a financial crisis, could they maybe get ahead of changing the relationship with money? Like, I wonder if, getting some good concepts and strategies implemented can help to change it before that crisis ever has to identify their relationship. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if that's the case. Yeah. When you think about just young people who may have grown up, in a detrimental, situation, and could grow up to have a poor relationship with money because of how they, started out. But if they were given access to financial education, taught how to, Monica, we were talking about credit, how to have a relationship with credit early on, then maybe they don't get into bad debt. They learn how to use debt properly and responsibly. So yeah, that's interesting. It could be
but what can we do? All of us are licensed and financial professionals, right? So what can we do to help each of our communities to have to acknowledge and to recognize is a good word, to recognize that there is a such thing as having a relationship with money. So how do you identify that? How do you actually, because even if you have money problems, right, that still doesn't help you to acknowledge the fact that you have a relationship with money, because you can have a good or a bad relationship with money and not even acknowledge or recognize the fact that there's a relationship of some sort.
Yeah, I want to I'll dive in here because I'm going to go back to the history, right? Where did your first concepts of money come from, right? So just look at two schools of thought. Brandy mentioned, if you've come from a place where maybe there was lack as far as finances were concerned, but I'm gonna flip it. What if you came from more of a privileged background, right? And so growing up, you never had a money crisis, or you never had an issue, with money. But here's the other piece. And so if you never had a crisis with money, or was never a problem because it was provided for you, what happens when you have to deal with money? There's a school for thought there, right? What can you do at that standpoint? As your question mentioned, you definitely want to understand get to understand financially some terms that could help you get some financial education. So that's where I would start.
I think that is so good, Rosalind, to start with the financial education, because I think that's the key to understanding that you have a money relationship, be it good or bad. To understand that there is a relationship, it starts with the education of finances or about money. Yeah.
I can dive in and just say, well, my son been exposed to this business because of me. And when we start talking money at an early age, he's 25 years old now, and he never had to go without anything. And now that he got to do it on his own, he sees that there is a difficulty. Now he has to, okay, everything that I've taught him now is kicking in at 25. Now, he never had to worry about anything before. It ain't like we were well off, but he just never had to worry about anything. Now that he's on his own, totally on his own, that I don't foot no bills anymore, that now he sees that, oh, I got to save. So everything that we've taught, I mean, you guys have children as well, but everything that we've taught our children, now it's for him, it's kicking in. And they're having that conversation amongst their friends. And he had brought several of his friends, say, hey, talk to my mom. She helped me. And that's what it goes back with a word of mouth. Here's what I'm doing. So here, so it has to be at some point, again, only reason he knows is because I know. Now, we didn't know. I blame my parents. Like, I wouldn't have gotten credit card debt if they just explained money to me. We never had no money issue coming up, but they never talked about money. Again, that's the way, that generation did. They didn't discuss that with us. So we had to figure it out on our own. And I had to figure it out on my own. Well, we passed those tools on to our children, and now they're picking up and learning, and he's passing it on to his friends. So
let me throw something.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
No, go ahead, Brandy.
No. I want you to go.
So let me throw something out there, since we're talking about relationships with money. But when I think of relationships, I can't help but think about relationships that we stay in once they're no longer healthy for us, even some that are toxic. So how could that manifest in terms of money and relationships? And when is it bad? What are the signs that it's bad?
That's a good question. So, Brandy?
Yeah, well, I was not going in that direction, but no, when is it bad? I think, to your point, when you have a crisis and maybe you pull out the credit card to handle the crisis, versus having had a savings that you could have bankrolled that, crisis or that emergency on your own, right? That could be one sign that every time something happens, I'm taking out my credit card. Or maybe not every time even something happens. Whenever I want to buy something and don't want to use my cash that I have, I pull out the credit card, I mean, that could be a sign that my relationship with money, is something I need to look at, Yeah.
That's one thing, and then I'm going to leave it alone. But I can't help but say or think, because this is real, that sometimes when you're in relationships, you don't know that they're bad because it's all you know. I can't imagine that we don't deal with that with money, where we have these habits, but we don't know that they're bad because of the lack of financial education. So we may not yet have a crisis, but we still don't have a good relationship. Sorry to go deep, Monica, but I couldn't help myself.
That is so good though, Morgana, and I'm hoping we'll have time to pull out some solutions. I want to tell a story to make it even more real, because a lot of times we don't identify that relationship because we don't realize that it is a relationship. So when I was a young woman, I think I was 23, I had just gotten married. And as typical, I would go to my father if I needed money or wanted money, because if I didn't have a nice outfit to wear for the weekend, I would just go to my father and say, hey, Poppy, let me get about $25 or whatever that dollar amount was, so that I could go to the mall. and he would just pull out his pocket and give me what I asked for. Well, this one particular time, I had just gotten married. I've been married for about maybe 60 days. And I went to say, hey, Poppy. And he said, give you. I no longer give you, honey. You're married. Your husband gives you. If you need to borrow some money for something, that's a different story. We can have a conversation, but I don't give you money anymore. Your husband does. Broke my heart. But what I realize now is that it was because I had a poor relationship with money that I expected him to give me money, not realizing and recognizing that there were certain things, limitations that I had because of my finances. But I didn't realize that because it was just like I could go to Poppy and he'd give me what I need or what I want. So, that is just an example of how you identify that you have a poor relationship. I wasn't in trouble with debt, but I was in trouble with my thinking.
All right, I got a point. The point that I was going to make, it kind of ties in a little bit, but Monica and I were having a conversation earlier this week about our kids who are adults, thinking that we never taught them anything. Right. And that came to mind when Carolyn was talking about, and even I guess that scenario, Monica, with your father, how as parents, we don't let them want for anything sometimes. Because they don't want for anything, and not that people have to suffer. That's not what I'm saying, right? I'm not saying we should make our children suffer, but because we make sure they have what they need, we're constantly giving them. If you come to me and need some money, my daughter's doing it right now, preparing for senior prom and senior this and senior that, and I need 100 for this, 300 for that, 600, and we just hand it over sometimes without making them work for it or want it a little long, like really putting that need to, I don't know. That just came to mind for me. And it's not really, I think it's financial education, but it's deeper than financial ed or the relationship, it's like, what do we do even for our children outside of course, Carolyn, teaching them principles, but how do we really make them apply those principles when they're younger? So that when they get older, it's automatic. They don't have that mindset that we never taught them anything because we always gave them, So that's something to think about.
I want to hop in here, Brandy. You all have given me a theme of your sphere of influence. So your sphere of influence, regardless of what you've been taught, oftentimes will ride with you. Now, whether you should be riding with that sphere of influence or not, right, is one that you have to determine for yourself. Or just think about something as simple as we send our children out, right? I'm thinking about my 10-year-old. And, I have her write a list of things that she wanted for the holidays, her birthday, and all this kind of stuff. So I want for her to understand that she has choices. But let's write this list out so that we can have a discussion around the things that she wrote on this list. And she put down there's a whole list of things, maybe about 8 to 10 things. But one of the things that stood out for me was a Gucci bag. I was like, 10 years old, a Gucci bag. I was like, I don't own no Gucci him, Gucci her, Gucci them. And I'm kind of like, where would she get that from? The only way she would get that is the children at her school, the other children. Now, my oldest two, they kind of fly in fabulous, so she could kind of get them from them as well. But I've never been a label person, you know what I mean? And I, no shade for people that are, but to me, I'm my own label. I never really, was big into wearing somebody else's label across my shirt, because I also was taught that wherever you spend your money is your ballot, and wherever you spend your money, you're voting for that person. So I never felt anybody worthy of a label for me to vote for them.
That's good.
Yeah. Deep points.
Yeah. So another thought came to mind. I'm sorry. So with my whole daughter situation, she's preparing for senior this, senior that, and all this, right? And I mentioned she's asking for money. I need this, I need that. So what we decided to do was I need a list, right? I need a list of everything. And when you give me that list and we've got deadlines, we'll go ahead and make these payments. But when I give you that money, If it goes to anything other than what we agreed to, then you're going to have to, like you say, Rosalind, make some choices. Make some choices. So that's an idea, like making sure that you're putting these guidelines around things, and not just when they come to you, we're just giving out, dishing out the money, but you're saying, hey, you got it. I gave it to you. You earned, if you earned it, right? You earned this amount of money. When it's gone, it's gone. So that helps them to kind of prepare for, I need to ration this out the way I'm supposed to ration it out. So there's some lessons that we can implement, of course, as we are giving to them, so they don't want anything or want for anything, but also teaching them about waiting and, not just put my hand out and I'm the ATM. So it's the thought.
Yeah. So acknowledging the value. So as we wrap up, we need to make sure that you understand that you can send us an email. So just as we spun the wheel in the beginning of the show, we are spinning the wheel every time we come on, unless there's a topic that we really want to cover. Without spinning the wheel, we will spin that wheel. And if there's a topic that you would like to have us cover, please send us an email. Our email address is theexitstrategy5. That's the number 5, theexitstrategy5@gmail.com. And we will address that, or we'll put it on the wheel and see if we'll address that next time we come on. You have a great evening, afternoon, or morning, wherever you are, and just have a good one, and be mindful of your finances. Bye-bye, everybody. We are The Exit Strategy. Find us on Roku, Boss Ladies TV, where we have transparent conversations to transform your mindset, money, and more. Scan the QR code to follow us on all social media at The Exit Strategy.